Welcome to your Get That Nugget for GCSE English Literature. Today we're going to be focusing on looking at how the structure of the play Blood Brothers and the plot of the play Blood Brothers helps Willie Russell to get his message across and give you some ways in which you can write about it and link it to the ideas of the play. This session is here to complement your lessons with your teachers and not to replace them in any way. So, Blood Brothers is essentially a circle. The play in and of itself is not cyclical, but we start at the end of the play. So before the action unfolds, we are shown the ending. So throughout there is dramatic irony. We as an audience know what is going to happen to Mickey and Edward. Willie Russell has done this essentially to show us that Mickey couldn't escape his life, that there was an inevitability to his death because of the social situation he found himself in. It is also mirroring the idea that those in the lower classes, those in the working classes, couldn't escape their fate, couldn't escape their destiny because they weren't given the opportunities. What we then have is the whole of Act 1, which sets the scene. It introduces the boys, it shows us their friendship, it sets up the chain of events that's going to follow. Now, throughout that, the play is not divided into scenes. What this means is that we have a fast-paced play which essentially suggests that there is no escape from the outcome. There is no opportunity for the boys to get off that inevitable ending. All of which essentially means that the play is set up slightly like a tragedy. From the beginning, we know that there is inevitability to the end. It is almost like a modern tragedy. And because of this, it enables Willie Russell to essentially say that the state of the country is a modern tragedy with predictable and repeated outcomes. Then in the second act, we have the descent to the end. And that essentially, again, suggests that inescapability, that almost guaranteed outcome, that Mickey will die, that Mickey's life has no hope and there is no future for Mickey. The play is set roughly across 25 years. And so we start with Mrs. Johnstone being pregnant and being unable to manage 2 additional mouths. And Mrs. Lyons, who is unable to have children, buying one of the babies off her. The boys don't know each other, and part of the deal is that they will never meet. So the play opens with the pregnancy, then the selling of the child, that difficult decision that she has to make, but the idea that she is trying to do the best for all of her family and potentially give Edward a better chance in life. They meet when they are 7 years old. So already that nature versus nurture has started to have an impact. The 2 boys are completely different. They speak differently, they interact differently, and they have different ideas about the world around them. Mrs. Johnstone is then resettled in a council house outside of the city, and that move to the country moves her closer to Mrs. Lyons. And whilst we know that she didn't have a choice, we know that, again, this is something that has been put on her because she has very few choices in life. Mrs. Lyons believes that she is following her and that she is trying to take her child. This then leads to a conflict between the two women, at which point Mrs. Lyons tries to stab Mrs. Johnstone, and we see that first hint of violence. We see that first hint of conflict and fraction that's going to happen between the two boys. When they hit 18, the two boys have very different choices. Edward goes off to university. While Mickey goes to try and work. And it's at this point that they start to lose touch with each other, to become separate, because whilst Edward is off at university, still being looked after by his parents, not really aware of the world around him, Mickey is in the world of work. He is struggling to find work. He is struggling to make ends meet. And so the two boys have really very different experiences of that brink of adulthood. And here is the starkest sort of reminder from Willie Russell about the choices that the boys have, or in Mickey's case, don't have, because of their upbringing, because of their class. And ultimately, what ends up happening is that Mickey, in an attempt to make money and support his family, ends up committing crime and going to prison. And whilst he is in prison, Edward is starting out on his career path. Now, throughout this, neither boy knows who they are. Neither boy understands their relationship to each other. Neither boy is aware of what's going on. And so Willie Russell has told the audience everything they need to know at the beginning. We understand their relationship. We have more knowledge than the characters. And it is only at the end that their relationship is revealed. And that moment of realisation that we have been waiting for since the start of the play hits the boys. It's not just in Act 1 that there are no scenes, there are no scenes in Act 2. And again, that's all about setting up this idea of a fast-paced play of which there is no escape. And therefore, Willie Russell is using the plot and the structure of the plot in order to do two things. In the first place, because he tells the audience what's going to happen, there is a sense of dramatic irony and we have more knowledge. But by showing us that at the beginning, it shows us that there is no escape from it. And so Willie Russell is telling us that society has inevitable endings for certain classes of people because the opportunities are not there for them. The lack of scenes suggests that there is no escape from the outcome. And the fact that from this point we are told the play in chronological order suggests that at no point could the boys have made different choices or done different things. In addition, what Willie Russell does throughout is give us parallel scenes. So comparing directly the two experiences of the boys, particularly with the police going to the house. Both boys have done the same thing. Whilst Mickey is judged by the policeman quite harshly and told that he is a terrible person, the conversation with Edward's mother is more about boys being silly and having a prank. And when you see that in parallel and you see that the two boys are treated differently even before they are grown-ups, even before they have the ability to make choices for themselves, you go back to this idea that Willie Russell is criticising society and criticising the way that society runs and therefore the opportunities that are afforded to people. So the question that I want to leave you with is that. Why does Russell start the play by showing how it ends? So you want to look at the idea of the audience understanding there is no escape. Society has predictable outcomes for certain classes of people, and that neither of the boys could escape their fate. Once you've written that, just a couple of paragraphs, if you show it to your teacher, I'm sure they'll be happy to mark it for you.
Well done for completing another revision session on Blood Brothers. Like and subscribe and comment on this video, please, so that we can see which videos you find most impactful so we can do more of them. Thanks.